Justin Trudeau was talking about his stupid just transition policies, which means he'll just transition you into unemployment and then the poorhouse, and how he's going to phase out Alberta's energy industry. And Danielle Smith reiterates, look, your just transition doesn't involve any consultation with us. You're going to do this to us, not with us, and we're having none of it. So good for her, prickling back at Justin Trudeau. You can tell she's a smart woman in control of a pretty stupid man here. So let's show this. And by the way, feminists, where are you? This is great.
I did write a letter to the Prime Minister a couple of weeks ago expressing concern about some of the major initiatives that have been announced without much consultation in Alberta that stand to have a huge impact on our province. The just transition legislation that gives the impression that the energy sector is going to be phased out. It's not going to be phased out. We're transforming away from high intensity emissions to lower emissions. I think we have some shared priorities on that, on LNG export to reduce emissions using the green transfer mechanism to get credit here. That would also help British Columbia, working on critical minerals, hydrogen, geothermal, lithium. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to find some common ground. I'm also concerned about the green electricity regulation. Our province has 90% of our electricity grid on natural gas, and so an early phase out of natural gas is just simply not going to result in a reliable or affordable option for our province. And I'd also proposed emissions cap on the energy sector. We've said very clearly that an aggressive emissions cap, such as was initially proposed, would really be a production cap. Yeah, because there isn't a feasible way for us to achieve that within 8 years. So with any luck, we'll find some common ground on some of those issues today. Because I think it's going to be important for all for Alberta and for all of Canada that we need to find common ground so that we can continue to move forward on addressing these issues together.
You know, Sheila,
Now,
because...
Sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the audio is bad, but that's federal government for you. They can't even organize a press conference, it's literally their job. They have communications people do this. These people want to run the economy. They couldn't organize a rock fight in a gravel pit. It's terrible.
That's a good line. No, I was just going to say, because the audio was so bad, and me being a bear of very little brain, I get distracted easily, and I couldn't help but notice, yet again, Trudeau's doing the psychedelic sock routine. And did you also notice, Sheila, Premier Smith had a bottle of water? Nothing, no soup for you when it comes to Justin Trudeau. Look, there's just one bottle there. Or was that a communal bottle of water? Boy, I'm sure we'd see some really harsh body language from Premier Smith if that were the case.
You know, the audio is bad there again because, my conspiracy alarms are like, oh, they don't want the world to hear Danielle Smith given Justin Trudeau the business for 2 minutes straight while he has to sit there and take it. But that's really what happened there. Yeah. One of them looked pretty darn prime ministerial, and it was not Justin Trudeau. She sat there and just rattled off everything Justin Trudeau has done to hurt the Alberta energy sector and how he's done it without any consultation or involvement from us. And she lays out sort of where they're going to push back. And then she says, we need a strong, prosperous Alberta for the benefit of all Canada. So you have to get out of our way and let us do these things. And he just sat there silently because you couldn't even argue. First of all, it's not the right place to argue. And she knew that. So she knew he couldn't say anything. But she's not wrong. She's looking out for the interests of Canada. He's not.
But Sheila, he sat there silently, as you noted, but did you notice his body language, which was for most of that clip? He's nodding his head in agreement. He's not doing this. No.
Do you know what?
Right.
I watch.
Yep.
I watch body language experts on YouTube all the time. The behavior panel, they do a really great job. And if you look, it's two things are happening here. His duper's delight, so his stupid grin. Because he and then his body language gives away the fact that she's right. He can't hide it.
How beautiful would it have been if Premier Smith wore one of our Justin Castro T-shirts to that?
Send one to her office.
I mean, we can dream, can't we? That's what happens in my Menzoidian fantasy world, right?
Sorry, before we move along, because I know we have another video clip from this. I'm not sure if the audio is any better. But I dropped something in the live stream chat, and it's directly related to Justin Trudeau's just transition and his pursuit of net zero, because I want to show you what happens when a company tries to do this. And it unfolded over the course of about 4 years here in Alberta. It is the nautical methanol plant. And so I'm just going to pop it open on my screen here. So the pursuit of Trudeau's net zero climate agenda euthanizes a $4 billion Alberta methanol project. Calgary-based nautical plant was initially proposed to cost $2 billion before the CEO set out on an aggressive pursuit of net zero emissions in the midst of the COVID-19 economic uncertainty. Nautical's proposed Grand Prairie blue methanol plant. So halfway through this, they underwent a green reset, as I call it in the article, ballooning the cost by 100%. The project was to turn, and this is the thing, it was a genius project if they didn't try to do the whole green reset thing in the middle of it. It was to turn low value methane, which is sort of a waste product from natural gas production, into methanol, which would be exported for heating fuel in Asia, which is clean burning as opposed to coal, and to make glues, formaldehyde, and antifreeze. So they were going to take a waste product and do something really great with it. For $2 billion, it was going to create 5,000 construction jobs and about 1,200 permanent direct and indirect jobs. And it was going to be a 35-year lifespan on this project, and it had direct buy-in from the Indigenous groups. But then the CEO, I forget his name, Mark Tonner, he decided that we're going to, right in the middle of it, say, you know what, we're going to introduce carbon capture because we want to get this thing to net zero. Carbon capture is very expensive, by the way. Depending on how you do it, like there's a carbon capture plant just up the road from me at Shell Scotford. It makes a little bit of sense, although I don't believe that carbon is bad for the atmosphere, but we have these salt caverns underneath and they utilize those to store the carbon. Fine. But in the middle of, the pandemic hits and these guys think, wow, the economy is terrible. You know what we should do? Balloon the cost of this 100% by introducing carbon capture. This is what the CEO said. There just had to be a change in plant design and the execution strategy and a big move to net zero. Why did there just have to be one? Because it was not mandated. They just did it.
Well, Sheila, just to clarify, this is not a politician or a bureaucrat. This is the CEO of the company?
The CEO, Mark Tonner. And he said the company just wanted to get in front of a trend with its own carbon cutting emissions or initiatives. He said it makes Nautical the first company, virtue signaling, obviously, to introduce net zero or blue methanol on a world scale. And he admitted the green design would add some costs to the project. It doubled the cost. But Tonner's not blaming himself, you see, although his mistake euthanized 5,000 construction jobs and 1,200 direct and indirect jobs after the fact. He's blaming Danielle Smith.
What?
Yes. He blamed the lack of a favorable royalty deal first promised to the company by former NDP Premier Rachel Notley in a campaign announcement in 2019. The deal, at the end of the day, would amount to $80 million in royalty tax credits, but only after the project was completed. So I'm not sure how this affects construction costs, Mark Tonner. Sounds like you're the guy who nuked the construction costs. But why did Mark Tonner think that Danielle Smith should be on the hook for a campaign promise made by the loser of the election? He told the Calgary Herald very recently, we had to stop now he doesn't blame Danielle Smith directly, but he's blaming Danielle Smith indirectly. We had to stop the project because we had to bring together a number of parties, including investors, and the provincial government. And as it turns out, one of the parties didn't fulfill their commitment. Let's put it that way. And we ran out of time. Danielle Smith didn't commit to anything to you. Rachel Notley did, and she lost. Not only that, I'm reliably informed by Jagmeet Singh that the NDP is against subsidies to big oil. But the NDP in Alberta, they're like, where's the subsidies, Danielle? Why didn't you subsidize them? Keeps going.
Sheila, if I may add in there, it sounds like to me from what you're reading that the person who didn't fulfill their commitment is the chief executive officer. The CEO's role is to make money for the company, for shareholders, and he's going off on this tangent of carbon capture and whatnot. I mean, that's the polar opposite of what this project should be, as far as I can tell.
Right. And I would suggest if you care about carbon emissions, and I don't, but he nuked the project because he cared so deeply about them. You're shipping methanol for heating fuel all the way to Asia. Guess what you're offsetting? Coal, wood. Animal dung, great. Maybe that's carbon zero, right? Like maybe that's net zero if you're offsetting major emitters, again, if you care about those sorts of things, with something you created from a waste product, which was a good idea in the first place, but they managed to ruin it. Here's what the NDP had to say, though. We would like to know whether the government did everything it could. This is what the NDP energy critic told the Herald. The government owes an explanation to Albertans to tell them they didn't just let this investment go away, that they didn't just let these jobs disappear. We're broke. We elected the UCP on the mandate to repair the damage to the economy and the province's financial situation done by the likes of Kathleen Gainley, the NDP energy critic. We are just now recovering as far as credit upgrades are going from the, I think, close to a dozen that we had under the NDP. And these people want us to bail out big oil. Look, I like big oil. My husband works for big oil. But I want them to thrive on their own. And I want us to remove the barriers for them to thrive on their own. And I don't want them to put up their own barriers either through needless virtue signaling. But let this be a lesson. This is what net zero, either mandated or bizarrely pursued on your own, does to a project. Balloons the cost by 100%. It leaves them relying on government bailouts, which the government has no money. It's our money. And the project just goes away. And it looks like 6,000 jobs along with it.
So, Sheila, what is the unspoken reason the CEO of this company is doing this? Because I can't connect the dots here.
He's just like every other CEO, from what I understand, where they're just woke and like Coke CEO, like where they're just disconnected, that whatever their hobby horse is, they're willing to pursue it to the detriment of the investors. Disney.
Unbelievable. And also, they've got to come up with a different term than just transition, because I don't know about you, Sheila. I think transition, that word, has been debased in this world of she, he's, and he, hers, and frankenfemmes, and all the rest. As soon as I see those letters, TRANS, I know something bad is coming down the pike.
Well, and what's just about sacrificing somebody else's job for your political ideology? Where's the justice in that? Okay, let's go to this last Danielle Smith clip, and then we'll do an ad break. This is this is Trudeau pretending to care about us. Let's go to this.
I'm sure we'll also talk about Albertans and how we can make sure we're supporting them. Albertan energy workers and workers in general have been extraordinarily important for the success of Canada over many, many decades, and we need to make sure they continue to be strong into the future as well. The world needs Albertan know-how, Albertan energy, and Albertan solutions for the coming years, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with the Government of Alberta on delivering for people.
Well, you better believe that Albertans have a special brand of know-how. They have to keep thinking about how to operate in a dominion in which Ottawa, under the Trudeau Liberals, is trying to cripple their biggest industry. Wouldn't you say, Sheila?
What a joke. Like, Danielle Smith just sat there and listed off all the ways he's trying to put Alberta energy workers out of work. And he just said, we have to support them. We have to help them. They've been really important to this country. Okay, perfect. Leave us alone. Yeah. That's all we want. Just leave us alone. Let us work. Let us work. Let us do all the hard, ugly work. And you can just sit back and reap the rewards. That's what we want to do. But they won't even let us do that. That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.